Hey everybody, it's Chris from Cali Raised LED, and today we're going to install our front MOLLE panel system in a 2014 and newer Toyota Tundra. For our hardware, we will have 5 3/8 bolts, 5 3/8 lock nuts, 10 3/8 washers, 5 M6 washers, 5 M6 bolts, 5 spacers, 2 mounting brackets. You will need a ratchet for your sockets. There is a 7/32 Allen, a 5/32 Allen, a 9/16 wrench. There is also a Torx T55 that's required, in whichever ratchet or extension you will need to get your bed bolts out. To begin our installation, we need to connect our 2 MOLLE panels together. Before we can do this, we need to make sure they're oriented in the correct direction. One of your panels is going to be completely flat. The other one is going to have a small jog or S-type bend in it. When we install these panels together, we need to make sure that the S-bend is going underneath the flat panel so that we get a nice flat continuous surface once bolted together. The first step of bolting these together is to take one of your 3/8 bolts, install a washer. You're going to install this from the bottom side of the bent panel and put it through both the holes. Then you're going to put on a flat washer and a lock nut. We're going to put our remaining 2 bolts in with the flat washers and the lock nuts. With these on hand tight, we're also going to install our 2 mounting brackets. Take one bracket, take a 3/8 bolt, install a flat washer. You're going to put this through the bracket. We're going to move over here to the side. On the bottom of our panel, you'll see 2 3/8 holes. It's going to go underneath. Then we're going to install a washer and a nut. We'll do this for both sides. With all of our hardware in place, we will now tighten all of our bolts and nuts. To use this, it will be your 7/32 Allen and your 9/16 wrench. With our panel bolted together, we can now go and prep our truck for the installation of the panel. Now that your MOLLE panel is all assembled, we need to get the truck ready for installation. There's 2 things that we need to do. If you have the factory accessory rail on here, this mount is compatible with that rail. If you don't, it is also compatible. If you have the rail, there are 4 bolts that go down the length of this rail. You need to remove the bolts. When we go to put the panel back on, you will be able to reinstall your accessory rail. This truck did not have one, so we're going to move on to the next step, which is our bottom bed bolts. There's one on the passenger and one on the driver's side. Taking your T55 Torx, you're going to go ahead and remove these bolts from both sides. This customer has a CB antenna installed. That's perfectly acceptable. This panel is made to work with all types of accessories. We're going to move it out of the way for now and put it back on after our installation is complete. We're now going to put our panel into position. Simply lift it to the front of the bed and set it in the front over the holes. Now we can begin by installing our bed bolts. They're going to go through your bottom L brackets back into the factory position. At this point, we are going to put them in hand tight to hold our panel in position. With the bottom of our panel installed, we can now begin to install the top. If you have the factory accessory rail, now is the time to go ahead and pull your panel forward and put it back into position, and then push your panel back against it. We will not be reusing your factory hardware. In place of that, we will be using these spacers. These spacers are sized to fit in between your accessory rail without any issue. What you're going to do is you're going to take your spacer, your long M6 bolt, and your flat washer. Put the washer over the bolt. Move over to your panel. You're going to put the spacer behind the panel. Take your bolt, push it through, and thread it into your factory bed hole. Put it in hand tight and leave it in position. We're going to repeat this step for the remaining holes. With all of our bolts in, we can now tighten them down. With our top bolts tightened, we can now tighten our two bed bolts. With all of our bolts tight, that completes the installation of our front MOLLE panel for the 14 and up Toyota Tundra. These panels are great. You can mount high lifts, axes, shovels, anything that'll fit in a quick fist clamp. We have 1/2-inch holes, 1/4-inch holes for all sorts of mounting options. You can of course mount all your MOLLE bags all over these panels. These are a great space saver and a great accessory for your truck. Please check out CaliRaisedLED.com for all your lighting and off-road needs. Thank you.